Previously, on Fear of the Demon Hunters, Vivianne Cosmara, alongside her allies the Archangel Capri, fellow demon hunter Jax, and the former demon queen, Fear herself, now going by her original name Arava, are working together to hunt down the demon general Zuan, who commands both animal demons and dinosaur demons since the death of the dinosaur demon general Sorieklis. Thanks to an artifact called the Demonitrix, now lodged in Vivianne's shoulder, Viv is able to transform into other demons and use their abilities to help in the fight. Using these powers, she and her allies set off to the Colorado campgrounds, where a horde of Ice Dinosaur Demons were waiting to ambush them. The group was all separated, but they were each able to defeat the demons that came after them. Except for Capri. He was injured facing off against an icy saber-tooth demon. Vivianne, still in the form of the demon Cryophazor, and Arava were fighting this saber-tooth together, but the demon was proving to be incredibly powerful. Thankfully, out of nowhere, a figure burst onto the scene and eviscerated the demon in only a few strikes. Viv was excited at first to see that their savior was none other than the Predator Coalition of Demon Hunters' most famous member, Cosmara Noroi, who now spends most of her time with a multiverse-traversing team of heroes fighting against the Archon Demons. Demons which Arava gave physical form to, before seeking redemption for her past actions. Unfortunately, Cosmara and her team all have a difficult history with Arava on multiple levels, as she has caused them many problems, and problems for many other people. From the look in Mara's eyes, Viv has realized that Mara isn't here to help them defeat Zuan. She's here for Arava. Let's see how this encounter goes in Chapter 9 of Fear of the Demon Hunters. Vivianne looked from Arava back to Cosmara. She wanted to stay in her demon form, but knew that it wouldn't help much if Mara was here for a fight. Cryophazor would be little more than a brief distraction to Mara and her own demon powers. Powers forced upon her by Arava, back in her days as Fear herself. "Vivianne?" Mara called through the last of the falling snow. "Vivianne Cosmara, right? Tamika told me how you got the hang of the Demonitrix quickly. That's really impressive. Can we talk as people, though? I've never been good at using demon links." Viv liked that Mara wasn't being overtly hostile, but there was a bit of coldness in her tone. Viv started transforming back into her human form, staying ready to change into another demon as quickly as she could if need be. Unfortunately, Viv wasn't even sure if her so-called Plan S would be enough to face Mara. Or if it would even work at all. As Viv transformed, Mara looked at the wounded angel. "Capri, do you need help?" He slowly pushed himself off the snow to his feet as gold blood dripped from his wounds.
"I'll be fine in an hour or so. I heal quickly, more so with rest. Though I assume you'd be opposed to us departing quickly to get said rest?"
Mara started walking closer. "You can get all the rest you need soon, I promise. I just want to talk." Her tone quickly became more hostile as she said, "Fear, stop getting closer to Capri." Arava stopped backing up. She'd clearly been hoping Capri could sneakily teleport her out of there. Viv finished transforming and stepped closer to Mara, inching slightly between her and Arava. "Cosmara, whatever Commander Wiggins has told you, she doesn't have the whole story. I know what Arava did to you. She forced me to get demon powers too, and to do some horrible things with them. But she's different now. She's helping us hunt down Zuan, and then we'll go after the other demon generals, and maybe even the Archons after that. She's changed." Mara's expression wasn't one of anger, but more genuine concern. "Vivianne, I want to believe that. I know that even people who have done horrible things can change. Dresden has killed hundreds of thousands of people, but has now built the RAS Foundation for the exact reason that he wants to help dangerous people change and do better. But that is where Fear herself needs to be right now. She'll be treated well there." "No!" Vivianne said, pushing confidence through her own fears. "She needs to be around friends who want to help her. It's been 3 weeks of us working together, and she's only gotten better and better. This is working." Mara remained calm as she said, "Vivianne, I know it may seem like you can trust her, but she had Dresden convinced for decades that they were friends while they were working together before she betrayed him. Dresden is a really smart guy. If she could trick him for that long, don't you think she could trick you all for a few weeks?" The confidence slipped from Vivianne's voice as she said, She wouldn't do that. She's really trying to change now." Mara more firmly said, "I hope that's true, but what if she's not?" It felt all at once like the cold finally hit Viv. Her body started shaking. She glanced back at Arava, who was clearly scared, but when Viv's eyes fell on her, she suddenly looked horrified. Arava knew that Viv was considering. Could Mara be right? Could Viv just have been too optimistic this whole time and was really being conned by a master of deception? Instantly, though, Viv forced the confidence back into her voice, and she turned to Mara again. "Then I'll deal with it. Arava is depowered and I have the Demonitrix anyway. I could take her in a fight if I really needed to, but I won't need to." Irritation slipped into Mara's voice. She might not even be as depowered as she's acting, and she made the Demonitrix. She can take it away from you while you sleep. Vivian, please, you guys can visit Fear at the Foundation. If she really does want to change, this is the best way to prove it. Viv's whole body straightened up as she said, "Her name is Arava, and we're taking her home." Viv turned. "Get to Capri now." Before Arava could get a single foot closer to the angel, Mara sprinted across the snow and skidded to a stop between them all. Jax and Capri were on one side of her, and Arava and Viv on the other. Part of Mara's body had shifted back into her demon form. This time she turned to the boys. "Jax, you know how dangerous she is. Come on, you've got to know I'm right. This isn't worth the risk." Jax was shaking too as he clutched the angel hammer Capri had given him. "Mara, I know I should probably trust your judgment on something like this, but I really think she's changed too. Taking her away now could, I don't know, ruin all her progress or something." While Mara and Jax spoke, Viv started to notice the strong scent of fear in the air. She wasn't sure who it was coming off of, maybe all of them, but regardless, it may be just what they needed right now. Viv glanced subtly across the forest, and off to her right, she saw exactly what she hoped to. Pulling Arava with her, she started inching to the left. Mara didn't notice at first, but as soon as she caught a glimpse of Viv's movement, she whipped her head around. "Vivian, stop! I'm sorry, I'm not here to hurt anyone or fight or anything like that, but I do need to take Arava to the RAS Foundation. You can come visit her if you want, but she's coming with me." "No, she isn't." "You can take that thing, though." Viv nodded past Mara. Before Mara could turn around, Cryophazor glided across the snow and chomped its jaws around Mara's head. When Viv had transformed back to her human self, the demon had reappeared where it had been before she took it over, and had obviously gotten back to hunting. Before its teeth could carve into Mara, she swung her transformed demon hands up and snatched its jaws. "Capri, get Arava out of here now!" Viv pushed Arava towards him, but Mara swung the dinosaur demon over her head and slammed its body down between Arava and Capri. She darted forwards in a streak of purple and snatched Arava by the arm. She instantly started tapping the screen on her multiverse jumping wristwatch.
"Cosmara, wait!"
Arava yelled.
Please, please, I know you shouldn't trust me. I'm sorry, but don't do this. I need to stay with Vivian, please.
Mara paused and actually seemed sympathetic, but quickly blinked it away. "Then she can come and see you at the RA." Before she could finish that sentence, a glimmering hammer swung down and struck Mara's watch, and bumped her arm down just enough to make her let go of Arava. She whipped her head to the side to see Jax. Sorry, I was just trying to break the watch, not hurt you." Mara shook her head. "Benny Sharp Tech doesn't break that easily, Jax. Now back off." She turned again to Arava, who was scrambling back away from Mara. Capri was trying to get closer, but Cryophazor had turned its attention to him, and was trying to bite through his wings. Mara was about to dart towards Arava, when everyone suddenly got a chill that ran deeper than anything they'd felt from the cold. They all turned to see Viv's body transforming with a twister of snow and leaves spinning around her. Something was different about this transformation, though. Her body parts were shifting into scaly, leathery, dinosaur-like hides, becoming new shapes then shifting back. Dinosaur-like heads spawned from across her body and shrieked then shrunk back inside. Arava's fear of being taken slipped slightly as she called.
Vivian, what is this? What are you doing?
Green and red alternating spurts of light burst from Viv's 4 eyes as she said, "I'm doing Plan S. I told you it would work." Despite him being long dead, Vivianne channeled the power of the dinosaur demon general, Sorieklis. Unlike past transformations where she'd just take the shape of the demon she summoned, this new form became like a blend of Vivianne's own appearance and the former demon general. When the transformation settled, she was standing tall on the end of a long clubbed tail as a humanoid dinosaur demon. Cryophosaur suddenly turned towards her, confused at first, but then bowed its head. Viv had hoped that would happen. She could also sense that she had more help still hiding in these woods. Vivianne looked at Mara. "You're leaving now, without Arava, or else I'm going prehistoric on you." Mara shook her head. "I'm sorry, Vivianne." She darted towards Arava again, but just before grabbing her, an astoundingly fast ceratopsid-like dinosaur burst through the forest and smashed its head into Cosmara, sending her rolling across the snow. This new demon, Pacrhinosaur, snorted and shook its icy head. Vivianne sprouted pterosaur-like wings and flapped them at Mara, sending a massive gust that made a twister of snow burst up around her. It was strong enough to tear trees loose, and Cosmara disappeared inside it. Viv turned to see Capri finally reaching Arava with Jax's help. He grabbed them both and called, "Vivianne, get over here, let's go!" Before she could respond, another streak of purple burst from the snowy twister. Cosmara tackled Capri right back away from Jax and Arava. "Capri, I'm sorry about this, but like you said, you heal fast." Mara whipped him around in a circle and hurled him as hard as she could into the air away from them. She then darted back to Arava, snatched her under her arm, and started to run in the opposite direction she'd just tossed Capri. Vivianne instantly transformed her legs into that of a demonic Troodon and sprinted after Mara, finding that, as jarring as the speed was, she was actually keeping up with the famous hunter. She could feel her dinosaur demons charging on behind her as well. Viv darted and weaved past trees that were little more than a snowy blur as she caught up to Mara, seeing that she was tapping her watch mid-run to teleport away. Viv sped up even more, transformed her arm into a crocodilian jaw, and chomped it right over Mara's watch, blocking her from using it further. Viv ripped her arm to the side and made both of them spin out and crash through trees and snow, still entwined. Viv held her grip tight. She grabbed Mara's arm that was holding Arava and pulled it to the side to free her friend. "Run!" Arava started to, but a tail burst from Mara's lower back and hit Arava's ankles hard, making her cry out in pain and trip back into the snow. Hearing Arava's pain made Vivianne furious. She swung her own club tail down onto Mara's as hard as she could. Mara cried out in pain herself as a shockwave of snow exploded up around them from the blow. Mara yelled, "Vivianne, stop! I'm not trying to hurt you, but you hurt my friend, and that hurts me!" Wings sprouted from Vivianne again, and she shot up into the air, holding Mara. They got well above the tree line in an instant, but Mara was able to rip her arm away from the crocodilian grip and shove herself free from Viv altogether. She started falling back towards the forest. Viv swung her tail down to grab Mara with it, but Mara clapped her demon hands together as hard as she could. A circular purple eruption pulsed from the clap and sent Viv spinning up into the sky. It also shot Mara straight back down into the forest. Arava was floating away over the snow, weaving between trees to lose her, but Mara easily tore through the snow and trees, not being slowed in the slightest. Thankfully, Viv's assistants had caught up. Pacrhinosaur smashed right into Mara, but this time, she caught it by the head. After only a few feet of sliding back, she stopped it, held it in place, and wrenched its head to the side, slamming it into the ground. As she did that, Cryophosaur ran through the air, leapt down, and tried to chomp around her head again. Mara just swung her tail up to slam the demon's mouth shut. It fell to the ground behind her. She swung Pacrhinosaur over her head and slammed it down onto the other demon. She then ripped Pacrhinosaur's head off and used the icy spikes on its crest to stab right through Cryophosaur's neck. Both demons began to fade and wither to ash. Arava had stopped and just watched, realizing there was no getting away from Cosmara on her own. Mara turned to her and said, "If you really do want to change, don't you think you owe it to Dresden to let him be the one to help you do that? He was the last person you called friend, wasn't he?" Arava was shaking as she said,
Yes, but I can't make up for anything I've done locked up in a cell.
Mara was surprised by the response. Before she could take another step closer to Arava, Vivianne shot down from the sky with a fist formed into a Pachycephalosaurus's head and slammed it into Mara's shoulder, smashing her into the snow. Vivianne's entire lower half shifted into a tail like a titanic snake, and she bounded around Mara's body. She could feel Mara's incredible strength as she tried to rip her arms free, but Viv held tight. She yelled out, "Capri, we're over here, come find us!" Seconds later, Capri appeared, lurching through the air with Jax clinging tightly to him. Capri's body was glowing, ready to teleport the second he touched Arava. Viv yelled, "Don't worry about me, just get Arava away!" Mara kept struggling to escape. "Vivian, just stop it!" But Viv kept squeezing. Mara suddenly lurched her head back and slammed it into Viv's stomach. Viv choked from the hit and her grip loosened just enough that Mara thrust her arms and legs to the side and tore free. Capri was just about to reach Arava. Mara leapt towards her, ready to snatch her away. Viv's tail shifted back into Troodon legs, and she jumped after Mara, snatching her ankle in a Tyrannosaurus jaw grip. They fell to the ground together and Viv kept grappling. Mara scrambled forward through the snow and tried to thrust her tail towards Arava, but Viv grabbed that too. Finally, Capri swooped down next to Arava. Without even landing, he gripped his hands around her shoulder.
"I'll come back for you as soon as I can, Vivian."
In a burst of light, Capri, Jax, and Arava all vanished. Finally, Viv let Mara go. Viv leapt to her feet and backed away. She was still ready for a fight. But Mara just looked concerned again as she got up, wiped snow off her, and let her head shift back to her regular human form. She turned to look Vivian up and down. "It is really impressive what you're already able to do with the Demonitrix." Viv was waiting for another attack, but replied, "I've only gotten this good with Arava's help. Maybe next I'll be able to take the powers of an Archon demon, but I need Arava with me, and I want Arava with me. I care about her, and I want to keep seeing her do better." Mara's shoulders slumped in exhaustion. "I really do want you to be right about her. But how are you going to feel if you wake up one day and the Demonitrix is gone and she starts using its powers to do the exact same thing she's done for the past centuries? What if her being sad and helpless is all an act?" Viv calmed slightly, sensing the fight was truly over, but stayed in her demon form just in case. It was surprisingly easy to maintain this one, possibly because Sorieklis was already dead, so there was no demon consciousness to fight for control. Viv replied, "Don't you think I've already considered that? I know this is crazy. Trusting her is as crazy can be, but I still do. And what if I'm right about her? What if you take her away now and she just resents you and everyone at the RAS Foundation from taking her from the first, maybe real friends she's had in centuries? She might be hundreds of years old, but as far as she acts, she might as well just be a kid who never really got a chance to grow up because of how early she was given such insane power. But I think now she finally is growing up." There was a long pause as Mara took in what Viv said. It was interrupted by an alert on Mara's watch. She tapped it. A voice spoke.
"Hey, sorry to call you in when you're out looking for everybody's favorite little toxic gremlin gal, but we got some crazy tough horror demons here. Even Jones is having a hard time turning these ones into midnight confetti. Think we need some Nightmare Hunter super smashing out here if you're free."
Mara sighed and stared at Viv for a moment before responding. "Okay, I can come now, Benny, but I need someone to come get me. I'm leaving my watch behind."
"Another one? You guys give these things away as if every time I sneeze, another one just pops into existence. But alright, sending you a lift to your dimension and location."
Mara unbound her watch and walked slowly towards Vivian. "I'll let you keep seeing where this goes, but if I'm trusting you to keep an eye on Fear, then I need you to trust me too." Mara held out the watch. "You can turn off location tracking after I leave so nobody can find you. Benny has had some, as he's said, really dumb clients, so he makes all his tech easy to figure out and use. If Arava does start acting suspicious or does anything to betray you, you'll be able to call me, Dresden, Alexis, or anyone on our team to come help." Vivian cautiously held out her hand and took the watch. Mara continued, "I really want you to be right, Vivian. Just be careful, okay?" Viv finally let herself warp and shift back into her human form. Mara seemed very unsettled hearing Viv's bones crack and pop as she turned back. Viv gripped the watch tightly. "I will. Thank you, Cosmara. Also, I know it probably doesn't seem like it from how I acted today, but I am a big fan of you." Mara chuckled. "Well, if you actually manage to turn Arava around and take out this world's demon generals with her help, then I'm gonna become a big fan of you too, Vivian." An unexpected swell of pride swirled through Viv. Then, a tall, scarred, pink-haired figure with a massive sword appeared on the scene next to Mara. She looked around at the craters in the snow, fallen trees, and scattered ash from the demons. She looked at Mara. "I missed something fun, didn't I?" Mara smirked. "Fun is one word for it, I guess." She looked Viv in the eyes one more time. "Good luck." Vivian nodded. "Thanks. You too." Mara and her friend teleported out of there. Viv smiled as she fidgeted with the watch. She could hardly believe that she'd just held her own in a fight against Cosmara Noroi. She knew Mara was probably holding back to not hurt her, but still, Plan S had worked even better than Viv had hoped. She excitedly waited for Copri's teleportation ability to recharge so he could return for her. But before he did...
"You know, stealing one of my toys at a time is rude enough, but you crossed the line by taking command of all my dinosaur demons."
Vivian whipped around to see a 10-foot-tall humanoid hippopotamus demon looming over her.
"It has been fun watching you think you were getting strong enough to face me, but if you're gonna use Sorry Eccles's powers like that, I think I need to call the game early. Does that make me a poor sport? Maybe, but demons aren't exactly known for playing fair, are we?"
Viv looked down at the watch. "Mara, how do I—" A meaty, leathery hand snatched around Viv's mouth. Another tore the watch from her grip and hurled it aside. Zuphiathan raised her off the ground, lifting her right up to his 4 eyes.
"Let's not invite anyone else to this party. I have a weird thing about eating around other people."
If everything goes the way I have planned out currently, there's 4 episodes left in this series, and let's hope that Vivian stays alive for all 4 of those episodes. By the way, I've got a proof copy of Mytholethal coming right now. We're still on track for it to release 1 week from Monday, on the day that this month's community redraw will come out. Very excited for that, but besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note. And the thought I want to leave people with today is actually inspired by something that I just went through yesterday, where I was driving home and I saw firsthand a brutal car accident, where I quickly got out and had to go and pry one of the doors open for a guy that was unconscious and bleeding from his head, and I won't go into all of the details, but everyone is alive and they're okay. And by the way, this is completely unrelated to why I took time off last week. Like, I'm just having a very eventful month. But the point is, when I see something like that happen, it really helps put into perspective my quote-unquote problems. I don't like to diminish anyone's problems because that can lead to people repressing their feelings around them, but seeing something like that where someone very easily could have died in a fairly innocent mistake from how the accident happened, and I guess it just kind of helps me go, if I have a bad day, like, okay, at the end of that bad day, maybe I did have a bad day. But did I die? No, so I can wake up the next day and make the next day a better one. I hope that's inspiring and didn't get too intense with the details I gave, but I love you all and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday, where Bustar Terminax is finally coming back for an episode. I'll see you there, goodbye.